The 9070 XT is one of the best new GPUs of this generation. At an MSRP of $599, it offers the best cost to performance ROI of any new release this year. The problem is that you can't actually buy one for MSRP right now. Instead, the secondhand market is flooded with scalped cards selling for anywhere between $900 to $1,100. Since its biggest selling point is its affordable MSRP, the price hike completely undermines its value. A couple months ago, I made a video breaking down how much you really need to spend on a GPU for a Tarkov build. In that video, I highlighted the best GPUs for 1440 Tarkov, where the game's heavy CPU dependence mean you eventually hit a performance ceiling, no matter how powerful your GPU is. Two of my top recommendations were the RX 6950 XT and the RTX 3080 10GB, both of which deliver top-tier 1440 performance in Tarkov without overspending on unnecessary power. Now, with the 9070 XT positioned as the best new 1440 card, but massively overpriced due to scalping, the question is it worth paying nearly double for a 9070 XT right now, or are you better off grabbing something like a 6950 XT or a 3080 at today's reasonable prices and waiting for GPU prices to stabilize? That's exactly what we're going to find out in this video. Let's get into it. For this test, I ran all three GPUs on my Ryzen 7 9800X3D, tuned with the plus 200 boost clock override and a minus 40 undervolt, paired with 64GB of DDR5 6000 CL30 RAM with optimized secondary and tertiary timings. It's all running on an X670E Aorus Extreme motherboard. If you're interested in the full details of my tuning process, please check out my 9800X3D tuning video linked in the upper right hand corner. For settings, I used my Pure 80 preset. That's an optimized high texture setup designed to deliver the best balance between visuals and performance. If you want a full breakdown of those settings, I'll link that video in the upper right hand corner as well. I ran 3 online raids per GPU at native 1080, 1440, and 4K on customs and streets and live raids, and I followed my usual test routes. I then took the averages from those runs to compare performance across each resolution. In 1080 on streets, all three GPUs hit the CPU bottleneck, meaning performance was nearly identical. The 6950 XT and 3080 were within 0 to 5% of the 9070 XT, and gameplay felt the same across the board. In 1440 on streets, the margins got even tighter. The 6950 XT and 3080 were now within 1 to 2% of the 9070 XT. Again, there was no noticeable difference in gameplay experience, and all the numbers were within margin of error. At native 4K, the 9070 XT pulled ahead. The 6950 XT averaged 12% lower FPS, with 1% and 0.1% lows dropping by 5 and 10% respectively. The 3080 lagged further behind, showing 10 to 15% worse performance than the 9070 XT. That said, I don't expect many people to play Tarkov at native 4K with these GPUs. If you're gaming in 4K with any of these, you're likely using FSR or DLSS, and in that case, performance will be much closer to native 1440 numbers. This 4K test is mainly to highlight raw GPU performance, as running 4K with high textures shifts the bottleneck from the CPU to the GPU. In customs at 1080, the 6950 XT and 9070 XT performed almost identically, with numbers within the margin of error. The 3080 was also very close, matching average FPS and 1% lows, but its 0.1% lows were 7% lower than the 9070 XT. At 1440, the 6950 XT remained competitive, landing within 3 to 5% of the 9070 XT across the board. The 3080, however, started to fall a little bit behind the Radeon cards. Its average FPS was 14% lower, while 1% and 0.1% lows dropped by 13 and 17% respectively. At native 4K on customs, the 6950 XT trailed the 9070 XT by about 15% across all metrics, while the 3080 fell further behind, showing 23% lower performance compared to the 9070 XT. If you're looking to buy a GPU right now, it's rough out there. The 9070 XT is averaging between $900 to $1,000 on the secondhand market. Let's call it $950. Meanwhile, the 6950 XT is selling for around $550, and the RTX 3080 10GB can be found for about $450. While the 9070 XT is an incredible value at its $599 MSRP, I personally think that paying nearly double completely negates what makes it a good buy. The 9070 XT is an absolute beast for 1440, but it's still doesn't max out 4K without FSR. Once FSR is enabled, the playing field kind of levels out again, putting it in the same class as the best 1440 GPUs from last generation. Personally, I wouldn't spend more than around $600 unless I'm going for a true 4K card like the 4090 or 5090. If you're gaming at 1440 or below, I personally think $500 to $600 is all you really need to spend right now, since anything beyond that won't meaningfully improve Tarkov's performance due to CPU bottlenecks. The 6950 XT sits at the top of this price range, range, while the 3080 is arguably the best value in this range. Other solid options include the RTX 3080 12GB, 3080 Ti, RX 6800 XT, 6900 XT, and 7800 XT. These are all generally within the same price range. So after seeing these results, what do you think? Would you still pay $1,000 or more for a newer 1440 GPU like the 9070 XT? Or do you think it makes more sense to spend half that or even less for nearly identical performance with something like a 6950 XT or 3080? Personally, I wouldn't overpay for a 9070 XT when last gen GPUs can do the job just as well for a fraction of the price. Unless you absolutely need the latest hardware or cost is not a factor for you, I think waiting for prices to normalize is the move right now. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Okay, that's all I got for this one. I hope it was helpful. If you got something out of this video, don't forget to drop a like and a sub for more hardware testing content. It really helps the channel grow. If there are any hardware comparisons you'd like to see, leave a comment below. If one keeps popping up, I'll definitely take note and try to get it out there for you. And of course, if you have any questions, drop them below or join the pyurologie Discord. We're almost at 1,400 members now with tons of knowledgeable and friendly users who are always happy to help. You can also shoot me a direct message. I do answer all my messages. Lastly, if you're looking for one-on-one optimization, consultation, or troubleshooting, that's offered as a perk for pyurologie Titanium members on the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.